Billy was a good kid. Teachers loved him. Friends said he was the most caring and giving kid they'd ever known. Whole school was practically shocked, almost as much as I, when we found out what had been happening to him at home. It all unfolded when he missed school for about a week. Someone called the police and they went over to Billy's parents to investigate. Billy was found dead, a mortician citing dehydration as cause of death. The police took Billy's diary. In it was enough evidence to convict Billy's parents. Here's what they read in court. Billy's diary, page 1. All the kids have fun, but I don't. I'm stuck here scrubbing the floors with my toothbrush, the same toothbrush I have to brush my teeth with. I watch the kids on the scooters through my window, and it makes me sad. Why do my parents hate me? Why couldn't I have different parents? Page 2. They boarded up my window in my room. Said I was spending too much time looking out of it when I should be doing chores. I'm not allowed by any windows now. If I'm caught looking out another window again, they threatened to put me in the basement and take me out of school. Told me I'm lucky to still have my own room. Mother said she'd rather drink bleach than let me sleep in theirs. Page 3. They caught me looking out the window today. Mom slapped me across the face and screamed a deathly scream into my ears while she dragged me to my room. Told me to grab a blanket and a pillow. I didn't know what for. Then she yelled for my father to unlock the basement door. I managed to grab my diary and pencil when she wasn't looking. Just wrapped it up in my blanket. Page 4. I don't know how long I've been down here anymore. It has to have been several days. I'm not sure though. I've not eaten anything since they put me down here. Maybe it's been 3 days? It's hard to tell when only a light bulb and some concrete are all you see. I've got nothing to play with. It's so quiet down here that I think I'm starting to hear things. Sometimes I think I can hear the blood pumping around my ears. Sometimes I hear whispers. Page 5. The voices are getting louder. They keep telling me to close my eyes. They say they'll take me somewhere better, save me. Somewhere I can be a kid. Somewhere I'll be loved. I can't tell if they're real. What if they're lying about where they want to take me? Is there anything better than this? Or is this all there is? Page 6. I tried knocking on the door. Nobody answered. I'm starting to think they've forgotten about me. I'm so weak and tired that closing my eyes for good is sounding better and better. Page 7. A door opened up on one of the dark ends of the room. The light is this blinding white. It's like staring into the sun. There's someone standing in the doorway. I think it's one of them. They look older, but not old. They're reaching out to me with their hand, telling me to come through the doorway, saying it does get better than this, much better. It's hard to tell if any of this is real anymore, or if any of it ever was. Maybe my life was never real. Maybe we're all in someone else's dreams. Just a thought, here then gone in a brief moment. Page 8. I've decided to walk through that door. The subject of Billy's abuse is unfathomable, but with this taking place, the police have now opened an investigation into the death of Billy's older brother, Jeremy, who died well before Billy was born from dehydration back in the summer of '98, most likely in that basement. Something was under our floor. Could be rats, maybe. We had just moved into this house and hadn't finished painting and decorating. We still had boxes stacked up and furniture randomly placed throughout every room. The house was pretty old, but we got it at an extremely low price. We almost couldn't believe it. Then we started having second thoughts after we finally moved everything in, because the noises coming from under the floor got worse as the days went by. On the first night, I was getting ready for bed when I heard a thump under the bathroom floor. My wife asked what it was, and I told her it sounded like someone living under our house. She didn't like the joke, but I thought it was funny. It was the middle of the night when we heard a sequence of thumps, louder than before. I got up thinking it was someone in the house, so I grabbed a baseball bat and checked around the house. Then I remembered the sound I heard coming from under the floor when I was in the bathroom. I got back in bed and told my wife it was nothing, probably old pipes or the house settling. It was old, so it made sense. The next night we heard scratching. I lay down on the floor and rested my head sideways so my ear could listen to the sounds. Then I heard a whisper. "Come here." it said. I was hypnotized by the voice. It had this gravitational pull on my soul, but I resisted. I didn't tell my wife what I heard, but I told her I'd go check it out tomorrow morning. Maybe see if there's a way to get under the house from outside, like a crawl space or something. We didn't get much sleep the rest of the night because of the banging. It really made me feel like something was here and it wanted us gone. Maybe it was trying to scare us away. I got up the next morning super tired. As I was making my way out the door, I saw someone standing at the end of my driveway. She was waving in kind gesture, so I figured it must be one of the neighbors. I was right. We didn't talk much, but something she said made my blood curdle. She was asking me how I felt about the house. I told her about the strange noises and how I was investigating them. Her face went pale. She no longer looked friendly anymore. Then she asked me if I knew what happened there. Apparently, a family of 7 lived here before us. They practiced the occult, witchcraft, and black magic. All 7 of them died in the basement. The scene was so disturbing that some cleanup agencies passed the job up. I told my wife, and she said she would get our money back and just leave. Maybe call the realtor and the bank and figure it all out. Sounds reasonable, and I agreed. But I told her I still wanted to see what those noises were coming from down there. I was moving the left-behind furniture when I found the door. It was hidden behind an old bookshelf. The door was locked, so I had to get some bolt cutters to get it off. When I did, I took a deep breath and gathered my thoughts. I needed to be as sane as possible. I was potentially dealing with something I didn't understand. Who knows what they conjured up in that basement? The air was brutally cold when I opened the door. There was no light switch, so I had to use my phone light to compensate. I wish I could describe how quiet it was down there. When I made it to the bottom, I saw blood stains all over the concrete floor. I looked to my feet and I noticed I was standing in the middle of a blood-drawn pentagram. Then I heard a voice in my head, deep and demonic, telling me I was chosen. I ran up the stairs and didn't tell my wife a thing. We've long since moved out, making sure to ask about basements and previous history before purchasing. But there's just one thing. That voice won't leave me alone. I'm scared I brought something from that basement with us, but I'm too afraid to tell my wife. I heard a scream in my sleep in the middle of the night. It sounded like it came from outside, but I wasn't sure. I looked out my window, then walked around the house. After finding nothing suspicious, I was heading back to bed. That's when I heard the second scream, clear as day. It wasn't coming from inside the house, I was sure of that. I threw on some shorts and made my way to the front door. When I got outside, I waited. It was quiet for a while, to the point I second-guessed what I'd heard. Maybe I was tired and thinking it up. After a while, I went back to bed, unsure of it all. I'm a morning person, often getting up before sunrise, say 4:30 a.m. It was a Saturday, but that makes no difference to me. I was up early and ready for the day, around the same time as usual. As I was making coffee, I heard someone yelling. It sounded like a grunt or a wail, like someone might have dropped something heavy on their foot. I've got a clear view of the neighborhood from my kitchen window, so when I heard it, I instinctually looked out the kitchen window. It was my neighbor across the street. He was lifting something super heavy into the trunk of his car, moaning and groaning, I guess, from the fact he was lifting it into his trunk all by himself. I didn't think too deep into it looking back. Had I known, I would have called the cops a while ago. I could have stopped it before it grew into the beast it had become. A couple years went by before I heard the screams again. It was in the middle of the night like the first time. I still hadn't forgotten about those first screams. This time I knew it wasn't coming from my house. I walked into the kitchen and looked out the window. It was really dark, but I saw a woman running down the street from that same house I saw my neighbor loading stuff into the trunk of his car. I ran outside to call for the woman. She was screaming, "He tried to kill me! Call the police! He tried to kill me!" She was running with a limp, but that didn't stop her from doing a mad dash down the road. She was trying to get as far away from that house as she could. I made a call to the police, and so did a few others who were woken up by her screams. The woman who was running for her life told the police that the guy drugged her at a bar. She woke up with her mouth taped up and tied to a bed by rope. Hacksaws, drills, and other equipment suspended on a rack on the wall near her. Blood stains were all over them, including the bed she was tied to. She managed to free herself and climb through the basement window. With that, the police secured a warrant to search his house. They found the basement exactly as described by the woman. Even worse, they found a box of photographs, one by one sadistic images of previous victims, none likely surviving. We had a serial killer living amongst us, and we never knew. I think about the night years ago when I heard those first screams. Turns out that was around the time of his first victim. He had botched the drug dosage and she woke up before he could even tape her mouth shut, explaining the screams. Over time, he nailed the process, leading to years of secret evils under the whole block's noses. It just so happened his last victim managed a stroke of luck and left with her life. Had I known then, of course things would have been different. Sometimes I feel like I'm partially to blame, but I know I can only do so much.